There's a street in a mid-sized American town that looks like 1,000 other streets. Ranch homes, chain link fences, trash cans lined up on Tuesdays. On that street, there's a man washing a 12-year-old truck in his driveway. The house behind him hasn't been renovated since the 90s. The garage door sticks. The mailbox leans a little to the left. His name is Herb. He's 61 years old, retired last year from a career in school district administration. Not a principal, not a superintendent. The guy who handled budgets, vendor contracts, and facility schedules. The kind of job nobody asks about at dinner parties. Every Sunday morning, Herb clips coupons at the kitchen table. He packs his lunch in the same brown bag he's used for years. He rotates between 3 polo shirts, blue, gray, and green, and doesn't see a reason to buy a fourth. His neighbor across the street just pulled into the driveway with a brand new SUV, leather seats, panoramic sunroof, $62,000 financed over 6 years. 2 houses down, another neighbor is loading luggage for a 7-day cruise through the Caribbean. And when they look at Herb washing that old truck, wearing that same blue polo, some of them feel sorry for him. Poor Herb, they say. Guy worked his whole career and has nothing to show for it. But here's where the story turns. One afternoon at a neighborhood block party, Herb's wife casually mentions they're thinking about retiring early, both of them, by next spring. One of the neighbors almost laughs. Retiring early? On a school district salary? With that truck and that house? Then, a few days later, Herb's financial advisor calls to confirm a routine portfolio rebalance. And the number on the statement reads $1.4 million. The neighbor who felt sorry for Herb, jaw on the floor. The guy with the brand new SUV, he has less than a third of that saved. The whole block couldn't believe it. The man they'd been pitying for years had quietly built more wealth than almost any of them. So how does this happen? How does a 61-year-old former school district administrator, a man who drives a truck with 180,000 miles on it, lives in a house with the original kitchen cabinets, and still clips coupons for laundry detergent, how does he have $1.4 million? He didn't inherit it. He didn't start a business. He didn't get lucky with a single stock tip. He did 10 things. 10 things so boring that nobody would ever post about them online. Nobody would brag about them. Nobody would make a video about them except this one. Because over 30 years, those 10 boring habits changed everything. The first thing Herb did was something most people plan to do but never actually set up. He automated his savings. 25 years ago, Herb walked into his bank, filled out a form, and set up an automatic transfer from his checking account into a separate savings account every payday. No exceptions. No decisions to make. The money moved before he could think about spending it. And here's why that matters more than people realize. Research on retirement savings shows that when employees have to opt into a savings plan, participation hovers around 60 to 70%. But when the system is set to automatic, when you have to opt out to stop saving, participation jumps to over 90%. Same people, same incomes, same financial knowledge. The only difference is whether the default works for you or against you. Most people wake up every morning and fight a small battle with themselves about money. Should I save this month? Can I afford to? Maybe next paycheck? Herb eliminated that battle entirely. He made the default work for him and then he forgot about it. That's the whole strategy. Set it and forget it. No willpower required, no monthly decision. The money just moved. In over 25 years, that one automated transfer, a modest amount that never felt like a sacrifice, quietly stacked into a 6-figure balance before any market growth was added on top. The second habit is even simpler. Herb never left free money on the table. His school district offered a 401 KEK with an employer match. For every dollar Herb contributed up to 6% of his salary, the district matched it. That's free money, an instant 100% return before the market even opens. And yet, roughly 1 in 4 American workers still don't contribute enough to capture their full employer match. They're walking past free money every single paycheck. Over a 30-year career, that missed match can add up to hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost growth. Not because the market was bad, not because they couldn't afford it, but because they never filled out the form. Herb filled out the form. From his very first year to his very last, he contributed at least enough to get every dollar the district would give him. He never adjusted it down during tough years. He never paused it when an unexpected expense hit. He treated the match like a bill non-negotiable and let time do the rest. The most powerful wealth-building move Herb ever made required zero effort after the initial setup. He just never turned it off. Habit number 3 is sitting in Herb's driveway right now. That truck, the one with 180,000 miles and a small dent on the rear bumper, has been paid off for 8 years. Herb bought it used with 42,000 miles on the odometer, drove it every day, maintained it on schedule, and never once walked into a dealership to browse. The average new car payment in America is now over $700 a month. That's $8,400 a year just for the privilege of driving something newer. Over a decade. That's $84,000, and that doesn't include higher insurance premiums, higher registration fees, and faster depreciation. Most new vehicles lose 20 to 30% of their value in the first 2 years alone. You're paying more for something that's becoming worth less by the month. Herb skipped all of it. While his neighbors rotated through new leases every 3 years, always chasing the latest model, always restarting the payment clock, Herb changed his oil every 5,000 miles, replaced the brake pads when they wore down, and kept driving. His truck doesn't impress anyone in the parking lot, but it hasn't cost him a payment in 8 years. And the money he didn't spend on car payments, that went straight into his investment accounts. Habit number 4 happens inside Herb's kitchen. Most nights, Herb and his wife cook at home. Nothing fancy: grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, soups in the winter, salads in the summer. They eat out maybe twice a month, usually at the same diner they've been going to for 20 years. The average American household now spends over $3,800 a year on dining out. Some households spend double that without even realizing it. A couple of takeout orders a week, a few coffee shop runs, a Friday dinner, a lazy Sunday brunch. Each transaction feels small. But added together, they create a slow, invisible bleed that drains hundreds of dollars a month and leaves nothing behind. Herb's grocery bill isn't zero, but the gap between what he spends on food and what his neighbors spend is $500 to $800 a month, quietly, consistently. Month after month, year after year, no one sees it, no one notices it, but the investment account notices it. 2 habits: no sacrifice that feels like suffering, just a truck that runs and a kitchen that gets used. Herb has lived in the same house for 28 years. He paid off the mortgage when he was 53. Since then, his monthly housing cost has been property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. No mortgage payment, no rent, no refinancing to pull cash out for a renovation he didn't need. Most American homeowners move every 7 to 10 years, and every time they move, they pay. Closing costs alone run 5 to 6% of the sale price. Then there's the realtor commission, the moving expenses, the new furniture, the window treatments, the upgrades to make the new place feel like home. A family that moves 3 times between age 30 and 60 can easily burn through $80,000 to $100,000 just in transaction costs, money that builds no equity and generates no return. It just disappears into the process of moving from one place to another. And most of the time, people aren't moving because they need more space. They're moving because they feel like they should. A better neighborhood, a bigger kitchen, a house that matches the income. It's an upgrade that looks like progress, but functions like a reset button, restarting the mortgage clock, restarting the furnishing cycle, and resetting the equity back to near zero. Herb skipped that cycle entirely. He stayed put. The house isn't flashy. The kitchen cabinets are original. The bathroom could use new tile. But the house is paid for fully, completely paid for, and the money that would have gone to a bigger mortgage went into his investment accounts instead. Habit number 6 is the one that ties it all together, and it explains why people who earn more than Herb often end up with less. Every time Herb got a raise, he didn't upgrade his life. He didn't buy a nicer car, he didn't move to a bigger house, he didn't start eating at more expensive restaurants. He kept his lifestyle exactly where it was and redirected the entire difference into savings. This is the opposite of what most people do. Studies on household spending show that for every dollar of income increase, the average household spends between 80 and 90 cents of it, sometimes before the first new paycheck even arrives. The raise comes, and the lifestyle expands to absorb it. New subscription, new car, new vacation tier. The paycheck gets bigger, but the margin stays the same, or it shrinks. That's lifestyle inflation. And it's the single biggest reason why a household earning $150,000 a year can end up with less savings than a school district administrator earning $70,000. It's not about how much comes in, it's about how much stays. The gap between what you earn and what you spend that gap is wealth. Herb protected that gap for 30 years. Most people never even notice it's there. If any of this is starting to make you rethink how you look at money, take a second and hit that subscribe button. Most of the people watching this channel are building something quietly, seriously, And the best way to keep these conversations going is to subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Now, habit number 7. And this is the one that costs the most, not in dollars, but in social comfort. Herb learned how to say no. When the neighbors organized a group cruise, Herb and his wife stayed home. When coworkers wanted to split a $200 dinner at a steakhouse for someone's birthday, Herb dropped off a card and a bottle of wine instead. When friends suggested a weekend golf trip to Myrtle Beach, Herb said, "Not this time." None of this made him popular. Some people thought he was cheap, some stopped asking, a few made comments behind his back, and in a culture that ties generosity to spending and friendship to shared expenses, saying no can feel like saying, "I don't care about you." But that's not what Herb was saying. He just understood something most people don't. Every time you say yes to social spending you can't afford or don't actually want, you're not being generous. You're borrowing from your future self to pay for someone else's expectations. And the people pressuring you to spend, most of them aren't building anything. They're looking for company on the way down. Herb wasn't cheap. He spent on what mattered to him: a fishing trip with his son every summer, a good pair of boots that lasted 10 years, books from the used bookstore downtown. He just refused to let other people's spending habits dictate his own. Every no to social pressure was a quiet yes to his own future. And over 30 years, those quiet yeses compounded into something no one on his block could explain. Habit number 8 takes Herb about 45 minutes a month. On the first of every month, he sits at his kitchen table, the same table where he clips coupons, and he reviews every account: checking, savings, credit card, investment balances. He writes it down in a notebook. He compares it to last month. He looks for anything unusual: a subscription he forgot to cancel, a charge that seems higher than expected, a balance that moved in the wrong direction. That's it. No software, no spreadsheet, no app with color-coded charts, just a notebook, a pen, and 45 minutes of attention. And it puts him ahead of most of the country. Surveys consistently show that a majority of Americans cannot accurately say what they spent last month. They have a general sense, a lot or not much, but they can't name a number, they don't track it, they don't review it, they swipe the card and move on. And when you don't know where your money goes, you can't control where it goes. You're flying blind and hoping you land somewhere safe. Herb knows exactly where every dollar lands. Not because he's obsessive, not because he enjoys it, but because awareness is the cheapest and most powerful financial tool that exists, and almost nobody uses it. 45 minutes once a month, that's all it takes to know more about your money than 90% of the people around you. Habit number 9 is something Herb does so automatically he barely thinks about it anymore. Before he buys anything, a car, a piece of furniture, a tool for the garage, an appliance for the kitchen, he checks if he can get it used first. That truck? Bought used. The riding mower? In his garage? Used. From a neighbor who was upgrading. The bookshelves? In the living room? Estate sale? Solid oak? $40. His winter coat? Thrift store? Barely worn? Name brand? $40. The depreciation trap catches most buyers on day one. A new car loses roughly 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. New furniture can lose even more than that. You're paying full retail price for something that's worth half as much within a year or two. Someone else already absorbed that loss. Herb just lets them, and then he buys it at the real price. Awareness plus patience. That's the unsexy wealth formula no one posts about online. No one takes a picture of a used riding mower and puts it on social media. But it works every single time. This is the last habit, and it's the one that makes all the others work. Herb's lifestyle costs roughly 60% of what he could afford. Not because he's punishing himself, not because he doesn't know how to enjoy life, but because somewhere in his early 30s, he made a decision and never reversed it. He decided that his standard of living would not be set by his income, it would be set by his values. And his values said, security over status, freedom over flash, quiet over loud. That brown bag lunch he packs every morning, that's not poverty. That's habit 10. Those 3 polo shirts on rotation, not a sign of struggle. A sign of a man who decided decades ago that what he wears doesn't determine what he's worth. The coupons on Sunday morning, not desperation. Discipline so deep it doesn't even feel like effort anymore. These aren't the marks of a man who can't afford more. They're the fingerprints of someone who chose a different definition of enough. Research from the Millionaire Next Door confirms what Herb figured out on his own. The majority of American millionaires live well below their means. They drive used cars, they live in modest neighborhoods, They don't wear designer labels. They shop at regular grocery stores. And they've been doing it for so long that it's not a strategy anymore, it's just who they are. The book found that the typical millionaire has a household income that's far lower than what most people assume. They didn't out-earn their way to wealth, they out-disciplined everyone around them. This is the part most people get wrong. They think living below your means is a phase. Something you do in your 20s when you're broke and trying to get ahead. Something you do temporarily until the raise comes or the debt is paid off, and then you can finally start living. But the people who actually build wealth, real, lasting, unshakable wealth, they never stop. They never flip the switch. They never say, okay, now I've earned the right to spend, because they understand that the habit of living below your means is not a punishment. It's the foundation. Take it away, and everything built on top of it collapses. Herb doesn't feel deprived, he feels free. And that freedom, the freedom to retire early, to never worry about a bill, to never depend on a paycheck again, is worth more than any SUV in any driveway on any street in America. Let's go back to Herb's street one more time. The neighbors see him differently now. Not because Herb changed, he's still washing that same truck, still wearing that blue polo, still clipping those coupons. But the truth came out, $1.4 million. Built on a school district salary that never crossed six figures. Built without an inheritance, without a windfall, without a single lucky break. Built with 10 habits so boring that his neighbors overlooked them for 3 decades. Now look across the street. The neighbor with the brand new SUV, he earned more than Herb almost every year. Better title, bigger paychecks, nicer vacations, a kitchen remodel, a boat in the driveway for 2 summers before he sold it at a loss. And after all that earning and all that spending, he has roughly $180,000 saved for retirement on the same street, in the same economy, with more income and less to show for it. Income didn't decide the outcome, habits did. Herb automated what others procrastinated. He captured free money others ignored, he drove what others replaced, he cooked what others ordered, he stayed where others upgraded, he froze what others inflated. He said no where others caved, he tracked what others guessed, he bought used what others bought new, and he lived below his means when others lived right at the edge or past it. None of those 10 things are impressive on their own, none of them would make a headline, none of them would go viral, but stacked together, repeated for 30 years, they didn't just add up. They compounded. Decisions compounding on decisions, month after month, year after year, until the man nobody noticed became the man nobody could explain. That's the compound proof. Not interest rates, not market timing, not income, just 10 boring habits that nobody wanted to copy until they saw what they built. Won't. If this video made you think differently about what wealth really looks like, subscribe to this channel, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and I'll see you in the next one.